why does it seem like the Miami Dynasty was so well received, but the Alabama Dynasty is labeled as bad for football? And he's checking in from Douglasville, Georgia. Now, I looked at this question, and I laughed at it. I did not laugh at the question asker. I laughed at the question. Because anybody who thinks the Miami Dynasty was well received in its time either wasn't alive, is suffering crippling amnesia, or is suffering from what I think a lot of folks in this poll I'm about to tell you about are suffering from, and that is some hardcore revisionist history and or recency bias. It's tough to overstate how despised Miami was through the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s. It is impossible for me to tell you, and I know good and well some of you are 19 years old, and outside of the 30 for 30 documentary, you cannot have understood properly what it was like when Jimmy Johnson or going back to Howard Snellenberger were doing what they were doing. It's very, very hard for me to put into words how hated they were, because it was about more than football, and I think most of you understand exactly what I'm talking about. But if you don't, I go on Twitter about an hour before the show because I thought I was sure where you guys were going to go, and it looks like I just whiffed. And I went on Twitter and I put out the following question: more hated dynasty, Miami or modern-day Alabama? I kid you not, I expected this to be 70-30 or even 80-20 Miami. And sure enough, it is the exact opposite. 58.6% of you, as of 1 hour later, have voted Alabama as being more hated than Miami. Look, I know it's your opinion, and I asked you for your opinion. I don't know what else to say. You're wrong. You're just wrong. Even those of you who are expressing your own opinion, I've never said this before on air. Your opinion is wrong. If you think Alabama, present day, is more hated or even close, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be it's not even close guy. It's Miami. It's not even close. Not only was Miami not accepted, Miami was despised nationally. Folks hate Alabama for football reasons. Folks hated Miami for social reasons. Folks looked at Miami and they were completely disgusted about everything they stood for. People look at Alabama and they just get pissed off because they can't beat them. At Miami, it extended well beyond football. The first time I was ever allowed to stay up past my bedtime was the national championship game between these two programs. It was such a huge deal in the South. Folks outside of Tuscaloosa, forget Alabama, folks in Athens, they'll never tell you, they'll never admit it. There were some folks around Auburn who even pulled for Alabama because they thought it meant so much culturally for a Southern program that played hard-nosed, rock-ribbed defense to serve Miami. And they did, right down there in New Orleans, 34-13 the final. I don't know what more to tell you. Look, people, normally when they get mad at a dynasty, it could be USC or it could be these two. Normally the anger is misguided. If you're really honest with yourself, most of the time when you hate these programs, you're really hating your own program. Not hating your program. Your anger is misguided. You are deflecting and rechanneling your anger towards your own inept administration or your program's lack of ability to recruit at a high level and develop, even though they have all the resources and facilities at programs that are being able to do it. And that's all that is with Alabama, modern day. I mean, Alabama, look, how many times lately, think about the past year alone, have you found yourself hating that Crimson A, but saying to yourself, man, Saban says a lot of good stuff. Like, I don't like the guy at all, and I wish he'd retire yesterday, but man, I respect a lot about that organization. It's a model for what I wish my workplace was, and he says so many things that extend beyond football. Dude, no one was saying that about Miami. I'm just telling you they weren't. They were not. Ask people in Lincoln, Nebraska. Ask people in South Bend, Indiana. Ask people in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Ask the folks that ran up against Miami. What was your motivation for beating them? It was so much more than just winning a football game. Oh, it was so much more. And if you could have taken a poll of America back then, folks in South Florida know this better than anyone. That's why they loved it so much. They embraced it so much. I'd be the same way if I were you guys. If you could have taken a poll nationally back then, I guarantee you the results in this poll would have been totally inverted, and even more harshly. Nationally, it was hardcore anti-Miami because you were watching Miami and you were very, very mad at the prospect that are they going to be able to keep all those South Florida athletes from the rest of us forever? Because if they are, when is this ever going to stop? Now, nothing perfect lasts forever. You've seen the "A River Runs Through It" poster like I have. Nothing perfect lasts forever except in your memory. That's what they're chasing down there right now. Mario Cristobal walks in the door. That's what they're chasing right now. But man, to say that Miami's dynasty was well received by whomst? Carl and Coral Gables? You know, Ned and Naples? I can guarantee you outside of South Florida, it was not well received at all. Now, I'm not telling you the Bama dynasty has been any better received, but when people recoil at the idea of Alabama, it's just cause of football. It was about so much more with Miami. So I can't believe this. You know what? Maybe it changed. Maybe it's a typo. Let me hit refresh. 3 minutes later, the poll's the exact same. 58.4% think Alabama's the more despised dynasty. I don't miss like that on our audience. I don't miss like that, and yet I miss totally tonight.